Hey patrons, happy Friday. You know what day it is. So we're doing question and answer with Steven. Let's go to Steven.
Steven, first question from Rooney. This was upvoted multiple times, so I think it's a really important question that the community needs an answer to. Will there be alternative forms of delivering spells than just orbs? Examples would be shields or beams.
Oh, like when, I see. Like when you walk into a shield, it runs a spell or something.
Could be that.
Yeah, in fact, I've already sort of experimented in my own playground with like what I call beacons. They're like some area that when you walk into, some spell happens. And,
Okay.
Yeah, but it just works the same way the orb does. I mean, the orb's really just some unreal object that sends stuff over. Actually, it always sends the same spell over. It sends over like kind of a meta spell, which is to run the last stage spell, which is basically whatever you last wrote in your rune service.
Yeah.
So there's no reason that something else can't trigger that. Like, it's really just whatever features you have in Unreal for triggering web requests. You can do that with anything. So I mean, I will likely make those sorts of things for my works, and I feel like other people, with some guidance, can probably make stuff for theirs, and then they're just blueprints that you can then spawn into the world with other things. So you can even chain them together. You could have an orb that creates an area that then, when you walk into that area, it runs some other spell. Whether the last one you wrote or some hard-coded spell, like any of that should be fairly trivial to do.
Okay.
I don't have it on a roadmap, but that's definitely not possible.
So. We could put it on the roadmap if the community really wants it to be on the roadmap,
yeah, totally.
right?
Yeah. We're getting to that point where that we have a lot of directions we can go, and I'm going to be very interested in what specific directions we can, the community is excited about.
Yeah, so start thinking about it, guys. We're going to be asking you questions soon. Will there be air magic with stuff like atmosphere, air pollution, or smoke? This is from Lars Larson on YouTube. Thanks, Lars.
The answer is there can be. So right now what I'm working on are modding tools. So anyone with some experience in Unreal, creating assets, creating blueprints as Unreal calls them, can create those and then ship them as mods that other people can then create in-game with spells. So if someone wants to create blueprints related to air and pollution,
smoke and...
then even some of the particle effects that I have kind of been experimenting with in the last few days, they have some smoke involved. So will someone then take those as building blocks and make a whole game-like experience around air magic and pollution? Possible. Yeah. I mean, I think that'd be really cool. So I'm definitely trying to build a framework so that anyone who has those sorts of creative ideas can either do them themselves or try to get the community, some subset of the community, excited about that idea so that we can produce it together.
Yeah. Will our spells be able to directly interact with life forms in the game, similar to the idea of life magic on the original Kickstarter? And this is a question submitted by Jackson Travis Ripper. Thank you, Jackson.
So I want something like that, where you have some kind of creature that you've spawned in. So that would be some kind of Unreal blueprint with some mesh that has some animation, probably some intelligence in terms of pathfinding, stuff like that. And I have done some prototypes of that, of creatures and stuff moving around the voxel terrain early, months ago, when I was vetting the voxel plugin, because I just wanted to make sure you could have creatures traversing it, because if not, then it would have been a deal breaker. So it's technologically feasible. In what ways magic interacts with those, I don't know. We have some freedom there. You could create some blueprint that has let's say it's a creature and it has some function that says set state angry or something like that. And then with a spell, you could anger it. You could set its state to be angry, or maybe it has a function that's set target some other objects, and so you could trigger that and have it sort of sick it on someone, by changing its target. But the ways in which magic can interact with creatures, those have to be authored by whoever creates those creatures and ships them with their mods. So it's quite likely like if I was going to build a mod for a creature, I would probably create the creature assets, define all basically the API, like what that creature can be made to do, and then I would maybe create runes that map to those things, and ship all that with my mod. And then of course there's other things you can do that maybe weren't built into the mod, like you could destroy it, like to remove it, because it's just an actor in the game, so you should be able to move it or apply physical forces to it. It's not like you have to script every possible thing that can ever happen to that thing as an object, but as a creature, as you define it, you have to say what those things are.
Yeah.
I hope I can get to the point where I can do an example of that at some point soon.
Yeah, it feels like it should be on their roadmap at some point to have
sure.
like a creature example on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is another one from Jackson Travis Ripper. What sort of information will we be able to pull from our environment with our spells?
I guess it depends. I mean, the stuff that's easy to do is like where your spell lands, you can query the location. I mean, that's easy. And given the location, you should be able to query what objects are around there.
Exactly.
And then if those objects have special things about them that can be queried, like let's say it's a creature and you can specially query creatures to know if they're angry, then you should be able to query that. In theory, anything... so if you want to know like what's in theory possible, basically anything that you can do in Unreal.js. And from what I understand of Unreal.js, that's essentially anything you could do in the Unreal runtime. I haven't noticed any particular restrictions there. So given that that's our very wide foundation, we think we have a lot of freedom with different mods in terms of what you can query or maybe what you restrict people from querying. Because given the game, you might want to say, I don't know, in this authored work, you have to be a level 5 wizard before you can even get reliable information out of the world. So, I don't know, it's like kind of, it's up to us. I'm not sure, it depends on what is fun. Like really, that's our guiding principle. Like we're exploring the space of what it would be like to be wizards that can craft our own magic spells, and that's an infinite space.
Yeah, no,
so,
totally.
I don't know, I'm excited to find out though.
Me too. Alright, I got one from Rooney. If I find issues on the existing repositories that cause people to have trouble building or getting stuff to run, what's the preferred way to handle those? Should I DM you or Steven, or should I make an issue on the repo?
Oh, I would make an issue or a pull request. And if we miss it, like if we haven't mentioned, like if it doesn't look like we saw it in 48 hours, you can DM us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there was someone, maybe it was Rooney, I'm not sure.
It might be Rooney, yeah. I mentioned it to him earlier today that, hey, just make like an issue on the repo. It's probably the thing.
Yeah. But yeah, if we miss it, it's just because we're not used to people contributing to our projects because
But we're going to get used to it.
We only released it a few days ago. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Rooney. Oh, is there a plan yet for target platforms, different OSs, architectures? This one's from Torsh.
Right. So ideally, I want to make as much of CodeSpells cross-platform as possible. But on the other hand, I also want to be able to make progress quickly. So I'm trying to do both of those at once, which is a little tricky. So right now, I'm targeting Windows. I'm trying to do so in a way that won't prohibit us from targeting other platforms. So that's why the first release is this very stripped down, minimal build, doesn't have voxels in it, it's just got a platform, just barely enough to practice or to be a world where you can load in mods and develop against that minimal world. So that, I think we can get to be cross-platform. The bottlenecks are, I have a Windows machine and I do have a Linux machine. You have a Mac, but we might need to rely on the community to help us with builds, or we might need to set up some kind of cloud build system. These things are not easy to architect, but they're also not impossible. So, I'm mainly at this point trying to make sure that I'm not doing anything that makes it impossible to target other platforms. So,
cool.
We might have to rewrite some stuff as well, because even in the minimal build, I'm using a plugin that runs an Unreal web server, And it looks like that one only works for Windows. But
Oh,
on
really?
the other hand, it can't be that hard to write a web server in C++. So, you know,
Yeah.
we might run into certain bottlenecks that we need to like kind of fix something before it can be cross-platform. But at least we have the first stepping stone, which is as minimal a build as I can make right now.
Okay, awesome.
But probably it'll end up being on a mod-by-mod basis. If somebody makes a
Yeah.
mod and they use some
Asset or
asset or
something.
plugin that is for Windows only, that mod's going to be Windows only. Like, there's no way around that. So
Yeah.
it's like, again, it comes back to, is CodeSpells one thing? It's not one thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a community and an ecosystem. So will CodeSpells be cross-platform? Parts of it I want to
Yeah.
be cross-platform, but there's no way to guarantee that all of it will, because, you know, we aren't going to be the authors of all of it, I hope.
Yeah, not of everything for sure. And the final question is super important. It's from Angalore. Bulbasaur, Squirtle, or Charmander?
All of them. Can I pick all of them?
No, you have to pick one.
Oh, no.
You're gonna offend two-thirds of the community.
I know, this is a trap. Angalore trapped me. I can't decide. I can't do it.
Should we table it?
Let me think about it.
All right, we'll table it till next week.
Okay.
You gotta make a decision before next week.
Ah!
Stay tuned.
Thank you so much, everyone, for supporting us on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you. And I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. See you later.